Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paige, this is Seeking Alexandria, and guys, today we are here to talk about another new little release from Little Miss Charlotte Tilbury, their new Starry Eyes to Hypnotize palette. This is what it looks like right here, and this packaging for me, I don't know what it is about it. Obviously we're going to get into price and description and everything, but there is something about this package that when you see it up close, it is so beautiful, and the amount of detail that is in it, it looks like it's crinkly, it has like a marble look to it, has this really beautiful starburst effect. Like, just before we even get into the review, the packaging slays me. Now, all of that being said, let's talk about price, shall we? Because this is actually a $75 palette. Ooh, honey child, $75. And I'm going to be reading all of the information about this from the Charlotte Tilbury website, which is where I picked it up from. They did do a little special, like 24-hour purchase thing, and now it is not available, but it will be available again here shortly. I'm not sure when the date is, but again, it will be coming back. It's not out of stock or anything like that. Now, going into the description, I'm going to paraphrase a lot of things here. Basically, what you are getting is this new limited edition eyeshadow palette. It is curated into 4 different glowy looks made out of 12 hypnotic new shades that are made of real diamond powder, so you can glow from day to night. She goes on to say, just like last year's sell-out palette, the easy-to-build shades play with the light beautifully, whether you want to create a natural look, a sophisticated smoky eye, or a molten golden goddess gaze. Now, as I went through and swatched this entire palette, everything was really nice, very creamy. These were like one swipe shimmers. They were absolutely beautiful, no issues there. The only one that I had a hard time with is actually this deep navy blue, and it feels really nice when you're like rubbing your finger into the pan. The biggest problem that I have is that when you do one swipe, and you guys can't really see it on camera, but it does get really patchy looking and very patchy feeling as you disperse the color. So when I actually did all of these swatches, that one I did have to build up a little, and in person it does look a little bit patchy still. Again, none of that really translates to camera, but just so you guys know, that one out of all of them does feel a little bit on the dry side and does translate in swatch a little bit on the dry side or a little bit on the patchy side as well. Again, not saying that swatches are everything, but just as far as consistency goes, everything else was pretty on point for the exception of that shade. Now, as far as the amount of product goes, that's actually for me where it is a huge miss. When I go through and do the math on this and break it down per pan, it says on the back here that you get a total of 0.26 ounces, and when you divide that over all 12 shades, it equals 0.0216, which is rounded roughly to 0.022, and that is actually less than half of what I believe a standard eyeshadow should be. You guys know at this point, I think that they should all be 0.05 or thereabouts, and this again is less than half. For the price, I'm just really blown away that you didn't get more product. Again, I'm not saying that the quality isn't there or that it doesn't have something to do with diamond dust or anything like that, but I do believe that for charging $75, there should be more product in a palette, especially when it's the type of palette that I feel like people would gravitate towards for more daily use. I look at that and I'm like, how long is that really going to last you? If you really like sit down and think about it, yes, the mattes might be nice and creamy and really rich in pigment, and the shimmers might be the same, but at the end of the day, if somebody were to use that every single day, it just doesn't seem to reason that it's going to last them very long, at least not from my perspective. All right, beautiful people, I moved you in. It is now time for an eye look, and as I'm looking at this palette, just something else I wanted to note that I'm really enjoying aesthetically is that as she gave you these 4 little individual curated looks, I enjoy that she gave you kind of a brown neutral, a peachy pink kind of neutral, and then when it got into like the color side of things, she said, all right, let's go green and blue, but let's not make them overwhelming. And I just went ahead and gave you an individual swatch of the green and the blue right there, because what I really like about these are the subtle softness to that color story that she gives it. I just think it's a really beautiful option, especially in a world where we're seeing so much color and so much vibrancy. I feel like this is a great option for someone that might want that lilt of color, but they don't want it to be overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like, they want a little bit of blue, but they don't want it to be too much, or a little bit of green maybe on the outer V, but they don't want it to go crazy. This is definitely a good palette for that, and I just appreciated that out of 4 looks, 2 of them are neutral, 1 brown, 1 pink, and then 2 of them have that little pop or a little spice of color, which I think is really nice. Now, for me, going into this palette and deciding which eye look I want to do, I'm kind of drawn toward this Love Glow right here, and I wasn't originally going to go like, oh, hey, I want to do one of her looks, but I thought what better way to really test the formula and test the colors and how they match together than to at least start off as a base of one of her own trios. So I think I'm going to start off with this little guy right here. Yes, I might add, mix, mingle a little bit somewhere along the line, but I just thought that would be a nice little start and ditty kind of base. So for today, I'm going to be priming my lids with my ABH eye primer here real quick like. Also, by the way, if you happen to see any weirdness on the corner of my eyes, honey, they have not stopped watering in what feels like a year and a half. So we're just going to let that happen, and I'm going to start off by grabbing me a good old fluffy brush, honey. Where's a fluffy brush? Hello. All right, so now to go ahead and get started with this, I'm actually going to take my Sigma E38, and I'm going to dive dive into this matte shade right here. I think we're gonna just start off, oh, woo. Okay, that girl has got some pigment to her, honey. And I'm just kind of starting and taking it in circular little motions and kind of really pressing it in. And then I'm going to go ahead with that same little brush and just blend out and diffuse the edges here. I really didn't want it to be that dark, but that pigmentation is on point, okay. So after I went ahead and I pressed that color down, I really went ahead and worked out the edges. That color really just moved on the lid really, really beautifully and diffused itself nicely. And I lightly took it and drug it through the crease ever so slightly. I don't want this to be, again, a super intense amount of color. I was more so just moving it around and getting that nice seamless blend. And I have to say, I'm really happy with where that ended up. I think that it came together beautifully, and I love that nice light gradient. From here, I'm going to grab some of my Too Faced glitter glue on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to take and apply that all the way from the inner portion of the eye all the way back. And then with my finger, I'm going to take both of the two shades there, the deeper one first, and I'm going to lightly kind of pop that in the center. And then I'm going to go in with the lighter one and just kind of pop that one on the inner portion, and then blend the two together back towards the brow bone. That's really, really pretty. And I will say, out of these shades, I know that I just went in pretty hard on the amount of product you get, and I still do agree with everything that I said. But what I'm really noticing and liking about these shades is that while you don't get a lot of product, the product that you use does go a long way. I haven't had any issues with Kick Up and Pan with the matte shade that I used, and I went in with both eyes and the lower lash line there. And then even with these shimmers, I'm not having any issue with the fallout side of things. I'm not having any issues with them being like chunky or pilling up at all, which is really, really nice. So at least if you're not getting a lot, at least I know that it's all going to go to your lid, so that's nice. So because that was a super simple eye look and it's a little bit darker on the inner portion than I would typically go, I want to grab this shade right down here. It's the lightest shade out of Seduce Glow, and it almost looks like a little bit of a diamondy kind of topper. And I'm just going to take and pop that right over top of everything else on the inner portion, just to give it just a freckle more brightness. And I did just look down and see a little bit of glitter right through here. And if I had to guess, it was from that last shade because it does have a little bit more glitter to it. So again, nothing that's awful, just a little something to throw out there. That eye look is really, really beautiful, and it's so simple. Now I'm going to grab this shade right here, which is the lightest shade out of the trio I was originally working with. And I'm taking that on a tiny little, what is this? It's a Wet n Wild smudger brush. It doesn't have the number on it, but I'm going to take that and pop it on the lower lash line just to butt up against that pink shade a little bit, just to kind of finish off that area. You know what? The consistency of that like diamondy shade that I put on the inner corner, it actually feels a little bit different too. Like it does feel a little bit more slippery and a little bit less rich in pigment than the shimmers, which make me think that maybe it's not intended to be like all the rest. Maybe it is meant to be a little bit more topper-esque. All right, beautiful people, I am back. The rest of my face is finished, and this is how the eye look turned out. I have to say, for it being really easy, it also does have this nice polished and very refined, but also vampy, slightly sophisticated look to it. And I feel like to get all of that out of just a couple of shades is really beautiful. Excuse me, beautiful people, pause. So I know at this point you are about halfway through the video and you're just about ready to get to my wrap up and final thoughts. However, when I was done with that first part, as you can see, which I am still wearing, I actually had to run to the store and do some other stuff. And the entire time that I was gone, I kept thinking of this other eye look that I wanted to play with. So I figured I would just interject here real quick. I'm going to take my glasses off, wipe off this eye makeup, and I'm going to dive into another real quick look. Now, obviously, I have been wearing all of this makeup for a while, so keep that in mind. My foundation isn't going to look as fresh. I'm going to have glasses marks right here. It's going to be a little bit of a hot mess, but I still wanted to come on and play around for a minute. So let me go ahead, get all prepped and ready, and honey, let's play with one more eye look. Come on, let's just do it. Let's patty cake our way into the day. Ooh, I'm really sorry. Okay, so let's just try to go around the mascara, because I stabbed myself twice doing that mascara, and I'm not really ready to let go of it yet. Excuse me, I don't need red pigment on my cheek, thanks. I feel like a literal not in the brow, Paige. I was about ready to say I feel like an actual artiste. Then I put primer in my eyebrow. All right, so this is about as blank a canvas as your girl's gonna get, and from here I'm gonna grab that same Sigma E38, and I wanna dive into this green shade. This is the one that's been like calling my name the entire time I've been gone. So I'm gonna take and I am going to put that on the outer V and the inner V. Now this shade does actually have a fair amount of reflect to it, as you can see right there. So you also could do this with your finger if you wanted to. I'm using a brush because I'm going to be fluffing it through like the outside of the crease as well as the inner real quick, but you can also just grab your finger and just kind of tap that out if you want to. I'm just going to place it on the inner and the outer, and then I'm lightly grabbing whatever's left over and kind of pulling that very, very lightly through the crease as well, and diffusing it up into the brow bone. So I have just kind of a nice green little smoky, light smoky gradient. Also going to throw a little bit of that on the lower lash line as well, just a tiny bit. Guys, that's actually a beautiful green. I really like that it's through the crease and it's nice and diffused, and it has kind of a more like sultry feel to it, whereas if you just swatch the green and actually get to look at the almost like duochrome green gold effect, it's a lot more impactful this way, but you can also sheer it out, work with it this way, and it's really pretty too. That's nice. Now I'm going to grab yet again here my Too Faced glitter glue, and I'm going to pop a little bit of that right through the dead center. And over top of that, I'm going to go in with this shade right here and put that all over the center of the lid. This is a lot more of like a nice kind of army green, I would say, versus the other one that has more of that, again, like duochrome goldy effect. Wow, that's a beautiful combination. Those two colors together are stunning. I actually really like the combination, especially on this side. I think in this lighting you can see it. The one I just popped in the center gives just a slightly different kind of green undertone to it, and it's so, so beautiful. It's like nice and deep without being overly done, and it's only 2 shades. Like, it's very, very easy at this point. Now I do want to grab a little bit of the lightest shade out of that trio here. It looks kind of just like a nice light little gold, and I want to pop that just like right in the center and go to up toward the brow bone with it, just to help open up the eye a little bit and just give it just that touch more dimension. You guys know me at this point. I love having just a little bit of dimension, honey. Then I'm just going to run through with my Sigma brush and blend those 3 together on the upper side of the eye, just so that way there's no harsh edges or anything. I want it to look like a nice smooth little gradient. Oh wow, that's really, really pretty. And then also something you guys know I love to do, take a little bit of clutch here out of the Rach Loves Pixie palette and ever so lightly just tap a tiny bit of that on the center of the eye. And that's just to give it like a teeny bit more pop, and then also a little bit to the brow bone. And that's the look, you guys. I know it doesn't look the best, again, because the rest of my makeup's a little bit funky, but I wanted to just get to go in and play with that shade a little bit here on camera. I feel like that's a beautiful color combo. All right, but anyways, you guys, I came, I saw, I added an eye look. It was a good time. I hope you guys liked it. Please finish out the rest of the video, get my final thoughts on the palette, my bloopers, all that good stuff, because it's coming at you right now. So now to go through and finish out my thoughts on this palette, I wanted to present it to you guys in a way that I thought was fair, not just from a logistical perspective, but also from the perspective of the thousands and thousands of people that will purchase this just because they love Charlotte Tilbury and they really support the brand. So for me, I'm going to start off with some pros. First of all, the packaging I think is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. It is very sleek, streamlined. Then when you open it up, another pro is that it's incredibly easy to use. All the eye looks are laid out for you. They're even laid out in a format that she talks about here on the back, where there is a prime, enhance, and smoke method, which is very, very true to Charlotte Tilbury fashion. So I really like the simplicity of it. Again, you're not going to have to really think it all. Just like you guys saw with me, all I did was go bam, bam, bam. The eye look was done, and I didn't even have to contemplate what to do next. And that's a really beautiful aspect of this palette. Another pro is that the looks themselves are very workable. Each one of these can be built up. Like on my lid right now, it's a little bit on the darker side, but you could also skip that center shade, go with the lighter shade all over, make it a little more subdued if you wanted to, and really work to build color and depth that you are comfortable with within this palette, which is really nice. Now that being said, another positive to this palette is that if you are someone more on the simple aesthetic for makeup, meaning you don't want anything crazy or vampy, maybe once in a while you might want to dabble with a tiny bit of color, but you're not really into anything crazy. You like just a good simple palette that is straightforward. This is definitely that type of a palette. And then I do think another huge positive to this palette would be the quality of the product inside. The shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful. They have a great glimmer shimmer moment going on. They are stunning. The mattes are so, so buttery, again, with the exception of this guy down here, which, to be fair, I would never pack this all over the outer V like I did this other shade. I would use this as more of a liner, a smudger, something to that effect, and I think for that application it would be beautiful. And now diving into the con side of things, I think just to get the elephant out of the room, the biggest con that I have with it is for what you pay, how much you get, because I feel like for 0.022 ounces, just $75 is such a high price point for me. And then another con that I do have with it personally, probably probably be the shades in it themselves. I feel like these are all colors that I already have or have something close to that I could very easily dupe out and not have an issue with there. I'm not saying that they're not beautiful. Again, they do perform well, no issues in that aspect. It's just more so that if you are a collector, you will want to be very mindful before you pick this up, because you very well may already have these colors in your collection in one way or another. So something to keep in mind. You guys, I think those are my main pros and cons with this palette. I do, of course, want to hear from you guys down below. What do you think? Is it something that you're in it, you know, you want to try it out, you think you love Charlotte Tilbury, maybe you collect everything that comes out in the way of a palette, or you're just not into it and you don't think the colors are worth the price, maybe the amount of product, that sort of thing. Either way, whatever side you're on, I want to hear from you down below. And if you haven't done so yet, you can subscribe, turn on your post notifications to this here YouTube channel. I do upload 5 videos a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They go up bright and early between 6 and 7 a.m. my time here in Northern Michigan. But you guys, that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do not forget to have a great day, night, weekend, whatever it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I wanted to present it to you guys in a way that I thought was fair, not just from a logistical perspective. Oh, hold on. This is what happens when you don't do your hair page. Working at the car wash, yeah. Okay, got it. Come on, Simple Eye Wipes. I love you so much. They are my Simple Eye Wipes, yeah.